În urmă cu 6 ani, Departamentul de Psihopedagogie Specială a început colaborarea cu colegii de la Sensus din Danemarca privind implementarea în România a serviciului RoboBraille împreună cu alți parteneri locali. Iar astăzi am invitat pe colegii noștri Lars și Tanja de la Sensus să ne prezinte serviciul RoboBraille pentru România, dar și serviciul RoboBraille pentru studenți. Iar astăzi ne-am axat în prezentare pe accesibilizarea materialelor pentru studenții cu dificultăți de învățare, cu dificultăți de citire.
Our intention with RoboBraille was to create a service where people with disabilities had a place to go upload their documents and decide for themselves how they wanted those documents converted. It's a free service that we're offering throughout Europe. The Romanian version is the result of a 3-year project that we did a couple of years ago, and now we are visiting again.
So today's lecture is coming to place by invitation of Marian Padure. So he's a very important person for us in RoboBraille International. He's been in that throughout the years, and today is just one of the activities that we have done together with the university in our efforts to disseminate information about the RoboBraille service. Following the implementation project that Lars was telling you about before, we have done a lot of new developments to the RoboBraille service that we are going to talk about today. So lots of the students who already know about RoboBraille will also know some of the new functionality that comes into the service.
A fost o prezentare și tehnică, dar și una care să le explice procedural studenților, celor interesați despre cum se accesibilizează materialele într-un sistem foarte simplu și ușor, online și gratuit pe platforma robobraille.org. Colegii noștri Lars și Tanja au prezentat sistemul pe care ei l-au implementat atât în Statele Unite, dar și în Marea Britanie și în alte țări din Europa.
The RoboBraille service itself has got 5 main workflows. So first of all, you can use the service to convert your documents into MP3 audio files. They're great because they play on so many different devices. It's a format that is well known to people. The downside with MP3 is that it can be very difficult to find your way around the document. So for that reason, we also have support for what we call structured audiobooks. In a structured audiobook, you have the text, the audio, those two things are synchronized, so we can highlight as we go along and reading back the contents to the readers, and then in addition you have all the navigational aids that you need to find your way around the document, so you can navigate using the heading structure, you can use pages, page numbers and so on. The third workflow you can use to convert documents into reflowable ebooks, and ebooks are by nature reflowable. That means that you can scale them up without breaking the margins, you can substitute the fonts, you can work with the color combinations and so on. And for those reasons, just plain ebooks can be a great accommodation for people with low vision, and also in many cases for people with dyslexia. The fourth workflow you can use to convert documents into digital Braille books that can then subsequently be embossed on a Braille embosser, shown on a Braille display, or loaded onto a Braille note taker. And then our fifth and final workflow, we call that our accessibility workflow. And this is where you can convert otherwise inaccessible documents or tricky documents into something that is more accessible or easier to work with. So this is where we have users who are converting image-only PDF documents, scanned books, scanned papers and so on into something that is more useful. We also have situations where people are using the camera function of their smartphone to take pictures of text, then they can upload it to the service and have converted into something that is more useful for them. An example of a tricky document could be a PowerPoint presentation. Many visually impaired users using screen reader technology, they find PowerPoint very, very difficult to work with. So we do have a number of conversion options available, especially for PowerPoint.
Since we are working with the service internationally, with lots of universities in the UK, specifically in English-speaking countries, there's been a lot of interest in implementing the RoboBraille service into higher education settings, universities, colleges, not only in the UK but also in the States. And as part of that, we are getting informations back on how to improve the service, and we are using that when we are trying to expand the functionality of the service, and that's what we are going to talk about today. And of course also how we have implemented new languages, which also makes the service very useful for students per se, not only students with disabilities, but students who want to become better or more efficient students by using the service.
Încurajăm pe toți cei care sunt interesați să acceseze robobraille.org, versiunea în limba română, și vor putea să-și accesibilizeze materialele atât pentru ei, dacă vor să învețe o limbă străină sau să-și formeze auzul pe o anumită limbă, dar pot să accesibilizeze materiale pentru persoane cu dificultăți de învățare, persoane cu deficiențe de vedere sau pentru persoane vârstnice, chiar și pentru copii. Noi continuăm colaborarea cu ei. În acest moment suntem într-un stadiu de diseminare a unui proiect de 3 ani de zile.
Well, the cooperation with the faculty here in Cluj-Napoca is mostly on the dissemination part. They've been very active, and they are very active also in the ICVI, which is sort of the international community around education of persons with visual impairment. And I know that faculty members here are active members of ICVI, and they do a lot to promote education for students with visual impairment, and of course that's very important for us as well. So that is, I think, the core of our collaboration.
We implemented the RoboBraille service. We have been implementing it for the past 10 years throughout Europe, and in 2013 we got a grant from a Danish organization. They were interested in funding our activities in Romania and some more places. So we came to Romania in 2013. We teamed up with important partners here, and one of them was the university here in Cluj. We also teamed up with the high school for the blind here in Cluj-Napoca, and especially the university and the high school have been very important partners in localizing the service into Romanian to make sure that we have decent support for the Romanian language in terms of audio conversions, that we have decent support for Braille, and also that the service has been disseminated throughout the country. It was a 3-year project. It started in 2013 and concluded back in 2016.
We do have a number on how many countries have been partners in projects. We'll come to about 12, I think, who have been direct partners in those projects that has been active in adapting and implementing the service. But the service is widely used in other countries where they have, for instance, a common language, for instance, in English-speaking countries. Countries where we haven't really implemented it, like Brazil. Since they speak Portuguese, they are also active users of the service, even though we have never done any project with them. So since the service is anonymous, you don't have to register to use it, and since it's free for non-commercial personal use, then lots of users are using the service, and we don't really know where they're located. We can just see by the services that they are using, we can see that some of the users come from very different parts of the world, and it is really a global service.
Colaborarea Departamentului de Psihopedagogie Specială din cadrul Facultății de Psihologie, Științele Educației a început în urmă cu 6 ani. Proiectul a fost pe o durată de 3 ani, iar de 3 ani de zile diseminăm și încercăm să aducem la parametrii optim platforma, astfel încât să fie utilizabilă cât mai bine de către studenții și de către cei din România. Iar astăzi Biroul pentru Studenți cu Dizabilități din cadrul Universității Babeș-Bolyai a avut onoarea să-i aibă invitați pe Lars și Tanja, tocmai pentru a ne prezenta atât tehnic, dar foarte important procedural, cum să accesibilizezi un material online.
I think what we're going to do in the future is to aim for having more functionality, more languages, to be able to support some of the very small languages throughout Europe and throughout the world if we can find funding. The way that the service is funded right now is through a certain kind of commercialization of it, where we to partners that are not part of our projects that are commercial partners like university settings in the States, for instance. They do pay for using the service on behalf of their students because they are providing a service for their students, but we use the funding that we get in through that way to empower or to gain support for RoboBraille to be able to continue the service, which is free for everybody.
Un aspect foarte important pentru tinerii voluntari din cadrul Biroului pentru Studenți cu Dizabilități și din cadrul Centrului de Asistență în Domeniul Tehnologiei de Acces pentru persoane cu deficiențe de vedere, dar și pentru toți ceilalți care sunt interesați să înțeleagă mai mult ce înseamnă accesibilitatea informațională. De foarte multe ori avem concepte greșite despre accesibilitatea informațională, considerând că un fișier de un anumit fel este accesibil, dar de fapt de foarte multe ori poate să ridice probleme atât studenților cu dificultăți de învățare, studenților nevăzători, chiar și studenților cu alt tip de dizabilități. Dar credem că prin Biroul pentru Studenți cu Dizabilități și prin Centrul de Asistență în Domeniul Tehnologiei de Acces reușim împreună cu voluntarii și cu cadrele didactice din cadrul universității să aducem pentru moment la parametri acceptabili ceea ce înseamnă accesibilitate în cadrul universității.